Keeping time accurately comes with a price. The maximum accuracy of a clock is directly related to how much disorder or entropy it creates every time it ticks. Clearly, this is not a word that everyone would be familiar with. Even those with science background, the understanding of entropy, I don't know how clear that is. So we would have to see what this entropy exactly means. It creates every time it ticks. Natalia Aries at the University of Oxford and her colleagues made this discovery using a tiny clock with an accuracy that can be controlled. The clock consists of a 50 nanometer thick membrane of a silicon nitride, 50 nanometer thick, which means very, very thin, of a 50 nanometer thick membrane of silicon nitride vibrated by electric current. Each time the membrane moved up and down once and then returned to its original position. The researchers counted a tick, and the regularity of the spacing between the ticks represented the accuracy of the clock. The researchers found that as they increased the clock's accuracy, the heat produced in the system grew, increasing the entropy of its surrounding by jostling nearby particles. Okay, entropy is basically heat. Right now, I understand entropy as heat. If the clock is more accurate, you are paying for it somehow, says Aries. In this case, you pay for it by pouring more ordered energy into the clock, which is then converted into entropy. Okay. Ordered energy is poured into the clock in order to get higher accuracy. Ordered energy is thrown into the clock, which is converted into entropy. This much I understand. By measuring time, we are increasing the entropy of the universe, says Aries. The more entropy there is in the universe, the closer it may be to its eventual demise. Maybe we should stop measuring time, says Aries. The scale of additional entropy is so small, though, that there is no need to worry about its effects, she says. अब पंगा ये है यहाँ पे this line here. If at all she believes that the entropy is so small that there is no need to worry about its effects, then don't make the statement, maybe we should stop measuring time. But okay. Additionally, this argument, again, this is something outside of the passage. This is the precise argument mentioned by polluters in the world. When factories had started disposing of their waste into rivers so that it went away. This is what they started with. अब हम तो इतना सा ही तो डस्ट डाल रहे, कितना ही गंदा हो जाएगा नदी का पानी, but धीरे धीरे करके the levels have reached untenable levels. Maybe that is what would happen with entropy as well. The increase in entropy in timekeeping may be related to the arrow of time. Now, arrow of time is not a literal thing. It is some concept, because that it is given within quotes, so it has to be some weird concept. Says Markus Huber at the Austrian Academy of Sciences in Vienna, who was part of the research team. It has been suggested that the reason that time only flows forward, not in reverse, is that the total amount of entropy in the universe is constantly increasing, creating disorder that cannot be put in order again. Okay, so ordered energy converts to entropy, and entropy creates disorder. We don't know what entropy means, but entropy ke shurwati and the after effects, those terms we know. The relationship that the researchers found is a limit on the accuracy of a clock. So it doesn't mean that a clock that creates the most possible entropy would be maximally accurate. Hence, a large, inefficient grandfather clock isn't more precise than an atomic clock. Okay. It's a bit like fuel use in a car. Just because I'm using more fuel doesn't mean that I'm going faster or further. Okay? Just so the example that is given here, what the purpose it serves is, ज्यादा फ्यूल लग रहा है तो हम तेज गाड़ी चला रहे हैं या हम ज्यादा दूर जा रहे हैं, जरूरी नहीं है ऐसा। ज्यादा फ्यूल लगा रहे हैं का मतलब है हम ज्यादा फ्यूल लगा रहे हैं। सिमिलरली एंट्रोपी ज्यादा का मतलब है एंट्रोपी ज्यादा है। दैट ज्यादा एक्यूरेसी के लिए ज्यादा एंट्रोपी बनती है, बट ज्यादा एंट्रोपी बनती है इसीलिए ज्यादा एक्यूरेट होगा। द रिवर्स इज नॉट ट्रू। दैट इज द आर्ग्यूमेंट बीइंग स्टेटेड हियर। When the researchers compared the results with theoretical models developed for clocks that rely on quantum effects, they were surprised to find that the relationship between accuracy and entropy seemed to be same for both. Okay. क्वांटम इफेक्ट्स वाले क्लॉक्स के लिए जब थियोरेटिकल मॉडल्स डेवलप हुए, वहां पे भी एक्यूरेसी और एंट्रोपी का रिलेशनशिप सीम टू बी सिमिलर। जितना ज्यादा एक्यूरेसी उतना ज्यादा एंट्रोपी इज व्हाट आई एम गेसिंग वी आर सेइंग। We can't be sure yet that these results are actually universal. They are applicable in every scenario, though, because there are many types of clocks for which the relationship between accuracy and entropy haven't been tested. Okay, wonderfully well done. What is being stated here is grandfather clock में देखा हो रहा है, clocks that rely on quantum effects में देखा हो रहा है, but this does not make it universal because there are so many other kinds of clocks that have not been tested for this relationship so far. It's unclear how this principle plays out in real devices such as atomic clocks, which push the ultimate quantum limits of accuracy, says Mark Mitchinson at Trinity College Dublin in Ireland. Understanding this relationship could be helpful for designing clocks in the future, particularly those used in quantum computers and other devices where both accuracy and temperature are crucial. Says Aries. Aries was Natalia Aries, जो पहले रेफरेंस थी वही व्यक्ति कह रही है फ्यूचर में क्वांटम कंप्यूटर्स क्रिएट करने के लिए एक्यूरेसी और एंट्रोपी के बीच का जो रिलेशनशिप है, दैट वुड बी क्रिटिकल, क्योंकि क्वांटम कंप्यूटर्स बनाने में एक्यूरेसी का भी ध्यान रखना है और टेम्परेचर जो बन रहा है उसका भी ध्यान रखना है. दिस फाइंडिंग कुड आल्सो हेल्प अस अंडरस्टैंड मोर जनरली how the quantum world and the classical world are similar and different in terms of thermodynamics and passage of time. Quantum world and classical world, the general world that we are a part of, how are they similar and different in terms of thermodynamics and passage of time? Again, this may seem like heavy science-based article, heavy science-based passage, कि quantum effects भी जानना है और entropy भी जानना है. नहीं भी जानो, बस तुम ये टर्म्स के नाम जानो चलेगा, बिकॉज कैट कार सी. Question 13. The author makes all of the following arguments in the passage except that. So which of these is not mentioned in the passage? The relationship between accuracy and entropy may not apply to all clocks. He's not really making this argument. He's saying we don't know if it applies to all clocks or not. It might not apply. It may not apply. क्योंकि यहाँ पे ये दिया भी था, we can't be sure yet that these results are actually universal though, because there are many types of clocks for which the relationship between accuracy and entropy haven't been tested. So for the time being, this survives. Option B. Researchers found that heat produced in system is the price paid for increased accuracy of measurement. Achha. Between A and B, which is better? B is better. क्योंकि ध्यान देना, we're talking of entropy in relation to measurement of time. B is talking of general systems and heat produced in general system, not in clock measurement systems or time measurement systems. This is talking of general systems. Basically, आपने टेस्ट करा फिनलैंड के लोगों पे कोई एक बिहेवियरल एक्सपेरिमेंट आपने करा, एंड नाउ यू आर जनरलाइजिंग वर्ल्ड ओवर, यही काम चल रहा होता है, विच वुड बी अ फॉल्टी आइडिया. ये जानते बॉडी लैंग्वेज रूल्स के हिसाब से एक एग्जांपल देते हैं. बॉडी लैंग्वेज रूल्स के हिसाब से समझना, इन कोल्डर कंट्रीज द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ पर्सनल स्पेस, कितने करीब आके आप किसी से बात कर सकते हैं. विद इन अ कंट्री लाइक इंडिया जहां पे टेम्परेचर्स आर रिलेटिवली हायर, the personal space is wider. विद इन लेट्स से नॉर्डिक कंट्रीज द पर्सनल स्पेस इज स्मॉलर, जहां पे हीट कम रहता है, पर्सनल स्पेस स्मॉलर के हिसाब से काम चल जाता है. सो फिनलैंड में अगर आपने पर्सनल स्पेस का एक्सपेरिमेंट करा हुआ है और वही आप बोल रहे हो वर्ल्ड ओवर पर्सनल स्पेस का मेजरमेंट इतना होता है, दैट वुड ऑफ कोर्स नॉट बी वैलिड, which is what is the problem with option B. Heat produced in a system, not in clock measurements or time measurement system, not in clocks, in a system which is uh, far reaching. तो दिक्कत है बिटवीन ए एंड बी. ए फिर भी जस्टिफाई कर सकते हैं किसी तरीके से, बी तो नहीं कर सकते. ऑप्शन सी, there is no difference in accuracy between an inefficient grandfather clock and an atomic clock. Okay. There is no difference in accuracy between inefficient father clock and an atomic clock. अब grandfather clock का reference यहाँ था. The relationship that the researchers found is a limit on the accuracy of the clock. So it doesn't mean that a clock that creates most possible entropy would be maximally accurate. Hence, a large inefficient grandfather clock isn't more precise than an atomic clock. इसको भी एलिमिनेट करना काफी डिफिकल्ट. इसको भी एलिमिनेट करना काफी डिफिकल्ट. दे आर सेइंग वहां पे एंट्रोपी क्रिएशन इज डिफरेंट. वहां पे एंट्रोपी क्रिएशन, द अमाउंट ऑफ एंट्रोपी क्रिएटेड इज डिफरेंट, बट वेदर दैट necessarily leads to difference in accuracy, that cannot be stated. That cannot be stated. इसीलिए the author makes all of the following arguments in the passage except that अभी सी के साथ पंगा है. बी एंड सी बोथ सर्वाइव फॉर द टाइमिंग. ऑप्शन डी, इन डिजाइनिंग clocks for quantum computers, both precision and heat have to be taken into account. ये तो लिखा ही था. Both accuracy and temperature are crucial. So ये भी चल गया. अब बी और सी में लड़ाई है. बी और सी में लड़ाई है. Which option do you think can be rejected, can be accepted? In my humble opinion, both of them make sense. Both of them make sense. But if I had to choose one, if I had to pick one, I would pick B. I would pick B because of the problem of a system वाला हालत. और साथ के साथ यहाँ पे स्टेटमेंट ये दिया था, an inefficient grandfather clock isn't more precise than an atomic clock. ये पता है कि inefficient grandfather clock creates lesser amount of entropy compared to an atomic clock, but entropy, the argument made in the passage was greater accuracy leads to higher entropy, but in reverse you cannot have that relationship in reverse कि higher entropy है तो more accurate रहेगा. At least accuracy और entropy के बीच में कुछ रिश्ता तो दिया है. In the absence of B, C would perhaps make sense, but in the presence of both these options, between the two of them, D seems better क्योंकि this is a much bigger point of contention. C is rejected in favor of B. Not that there is something wrong with C. B is selected over C because this seems like a bigger problem. A system is not acceptable. B should be the answer. Next question, which one of the following sets of words and phrases serves best as keywords of the passage? इसके अंदर तो बहुत ही प्यार से सफाई से काम चल जाएगा. ये काम है measuring time, accuracy, entropy. क्योंकि एक एंट्रोपी इज एन एक्सट्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट ऑफ दिस पैसेज, तो पहले दो ऑप्शन तो बिना एंट्रोपी के ऐसे ही गायब है. सेकेंडली, वी आर टॉकिंग ऑफ मेम्ब्रेन एरो ऑफ टाइम एंट्रोपी. मेम्ब्रेन वो सिल्वर नाइट्राइड मेम्ब्रेन का कुछ एक एग्जांपल दिया था ना, थिक मेम्ब्रेन ऑफ सिलिकॉन नाइट्राइड, सॉरी सिल्वर नहीं, सिलिकॉन नाइट्राइड वाइब्रेटेड बाय इलेक्ट्रिक करंट, एक एग्जांपल ऑफ अ डिवाइस का डिस्क्रिप्शन में था. तो एनीवे ये मेम्ब्रेन वाला पोर्शन इज नॉट अ कीवर्ड ऑफ द पैसेज है. हैज टू बी ऑप्शन सी, measuring time, accuracy and entropy. Next question, none of the following statements can be inferred from the passage except that. ठीक है. So basically the question is, which of the following can be inferred from the passage? Option A, the arrow of time has not yet been tested for atomic clocks. Do you remember arrow of time is a concept, and concept cannot be tested for atomic clocks. Arrow of time का basically रेफरेंस भी या यहाँ पे काम भी जो चला है, एरो ऑफ टाइम की बात यह है कि एरो सिर्फ आगे जा रहा है. बेसिकली पता है हिंदी के अगर वो जबान से निकली बात और तरकश से निकला तीर कभी वापस नहीं आते, दो दैट आइडिया एरो ऑफ टाइम का कॉन्सेप्ट वो है. It only goes forward, it doesn't go back. You cannot throw an arrow that goes back. The arrow will always go forward. So when we say the arrow of time has not been tested for atomic clocks, doesn't even make sense. Atomic clocks के लिए ये चेक करना कि टाइम रिवर्स में जा सकता है कि नहीं, क्या बकवास कर रहा है. बट ठीक है. ऑप्शन ए. ऑप्शन बी. Quantum computers are likely to produce more heat and hence more entropy because of the emphasis on the clock's accuracy. ठीक है. Between A and B, B is much better. क्वांटम कंप्यूटर्स के अंदर क्वांटम क्लॉक्स दैट रिलाई, मतलब यहां पे लिखा भी था ना, those used in quantum computers and other devices where both accuracy and temperature are crucial. Quantum computers are likely to produce more heat. This is true. Okay. Option C. Grandfather clocks are likely to produce less heat and hence less entropy because they are not as accurate. ध्यान दीजिएगा, एंट्रोपी के बारे में ये बताया हुआ था. एक एग्जांपल में इट वाज हीट, बट इन द सब्सिक्वेंट एग्जांपल इट इज नॉट हीट सो मच एज डिसऑर्डर. कहां पे था अपना, हाँ, more ordered energy into the clock. Now ordered energy need not necessarily be in the form of heat only. देखते हैं, फिर भी बी और सी दोनों सर्वाइव. Option D, a clock with 50 nanometer thick membrane of silicon nitride has been made to vibrate, producing electric currents. अच्छा, एक तो ये पैसेज के अंदर डायरेक्टली स्टेटेड था, ये तो आ ही रहा है, हटाओ. बी और सी की लड़ाई फिर से. Which option do you think would be better? जनता, which option do you think would be better? पंगा पता है यहाँ पे एक्चुअली में कहां से आता है? क्वेश्चन 13 के ऑप्शन सी से. अगर क्वेश्चन 13 के ऑप्शन सी में इनएफिशिएंट ग्रैंडफादर क्लॉक और एटॉमिक क्लॉक के आइडिया को अपने बोल रहे हैं कि ठीक ठाक चल रहा है, क्योंकि दिस बेसिकली इफ आई एम रिजेक्टिंग दिस आई एम सेइंग द ऑथर मेक्स ऑल ऑफ द फॉलोइंग आर्गुमेंट्स इन द पैसेज. तो ये चीज आ ही रही है पैसेज के अंदर. So grandfather clocks are likely to produce less heat and hence less entropy because they are not as accurate. Inefficient grandfather clock के अंदर एंट्रोपी कम क्रिएट हो रही है. Heat is the only source of entropy. While this is a faulty idea that heat is the only source of entropy, क्योंकि आपने को बस ordered energy की बात बोली थी. But between the two of them, what is more likely to be inferred from the passage? Option B, for the simple reason, heat is not the only way entropy can be introduced. Heat एक way था, the more generic term was ordered energy. Okay. साथ के साथ ओहो, एक तो बहुत ही प्यारी चीज, नहीं ठीक है, यही है. ऑर्डर्ड एनर्जी इक्विवेलेंट टू हीट नहीं लिंक कर सकते, इसके चक्कर में बी और सी में बी होना चाहिए, सी हटेगा. ऑप्शन 6, क्वेश्चन 16. It's a bit like fuel use in a car. Just because I'm using more fuel doesn't mean that I'm going faster or further. What is the purpose of this example? If you go faster in a car, you will tend to consume more fuel, but the converse is not necessarily true. In the same way, increased entropy does not necessarily mean greater accuracy of a clock. Precisely यही argument है, ये बहुत ही अच्छा option है. You could have a bad car that consumes a lot of fuel without making you go fast. So A survives. Option B, the further you go in a car, the more fuel you use. In the same way, the faster you go in a car, the less time you use. This is A और B के बीच relationship. This is C और D के बीच relationship. ये तो अलग ही कहानियों में चला गया. A और B में A survives. If you measure the speed of the car with a grandfather clock, the result will be different than if you measured it with atomic clock. Basically, अलग अलग devices से अगर measure करोगे time तो अलग अलग result आएगा. Again, definitely not the purpose of this example. The example was high accuracy से high entropy, but high entropy does not mean high accuracy. ये बात थी. ये भी गया. Option D, the further and faster you go in a car, the greater the amount of fuel you will use and greater the amount of heat produced and hence greater the entropy. यहाँ पे ये चला गया, the faster you go in a car, greater the amount of entropy. अलग ही एंगल पे चला गया. This has to be the answer. But high entropy does not necessarily mean higher accuracy. This is the argument being made in this example. And that is the entirety of this passage. Out of the 4 passages in this paper, clearly this one is most problematic, especially because of question 13 and 15. Grandfather clock वाला example के साथ कुछ तो game है, but फिर भी reaching the answer is not really impossible. आने में आ जाएगा.